Welcome back to the Business First Stage, presented by IFT's Food Technology Magazine and our new Omnivore podcast. I'm Bill McDowell. I'm the editor of Food Technology and the vice president of content strategy here at IFT. I want to welcome all of you here this morning. Shelf life is such a popular topic these days. It's one of the top 5 areas IFT's concierge service customers are consistently calling and emailing and asking for help with. This morning's presentation on reducing food waste by extending the shelf life of baked products features Dr. Karen Winowski, Vice President of Innovation at Innophos, who's going to discuss a new technology aimed at solving shelf life challenges for grain products. Please be aware we will have some time at the end for Q&A, so hold on to them and just enjoy the presentation. I'm pleased to introduce Karen Winowski.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Can you hear me good? Excellent. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I'm really excited to share with you the Lever ESL technology from Innophos, that it's here to help let me move one more. Extending the shelf life of baked products and reducing food waste. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Karen Winkowski. I'm the Vice President of Innovation of Innophos, and I will be telling you a little bit about Innophos in my next slide. I have a PhD in food science with focus in microbiology, and I'm very passionate about sustainability. At Innophos, I lead the R&D team where we do new product development as well as new applications, the central analytical lab as well as tech service. I do have a few publications, some peer review papers, some patents, and also some book chapters. But what I think it's important for you to know about me today is that throughout my career, I have developed differentiating technologies to help extend the shelf life of many different products. So let's lead through technology. Let's change through technology. We only have one world, and reducing its food waste and its environmental impact can only help us preserve our planet and its resources. So a little bit about Innophos. Innophos is a global producer of essential ingredients to improve the quality of life. We leverage our science and technology to bring new solutions and formulations that contain phosphates, minerals, enzymes, and botanicals that can help our customers bring products into the market that are tasty, nutritious, healthy, and also economic. Now it's about lunchtime. How many of you had some breakfast today? So you could have had a breakfast, you went for a run, and you were very, athletic, and you said, I need a hydrating beverages, or I need a high-protein beverage, or I need a yogurt. Or else you decided, I'm going to be walking the whole show at IFT, so I want to be a little bit more indulgent. How about I have a coffee with a creamer, and I have a toast, or I have pancakes with processed cheese and maybe a sausage on the side, right? Well, one of all of those products contains some of Innophos products. We are headquartered in Cranbury, New Jersey, and we have manufacturing facilities across the US, in Mexico, in Canada, and in China. So that's about Innophos. So let me tell you a little bit, what are you going to be learning today? We are going to be talking about reducing food waste, especially in the US, and where the food waste originate across the value chain. We're going to be talking about extending the shelf life and how Innophos solutions can help bakeries and commercial bakeries with their current key challenges on reducing food waste and improving their bottom line. So reducing food waste. By now we know, right, about 35% of the food that is being produced is wasted. What a shame. So what are the benefits of being able to reduce food waste? Number one, we can feed more people. The uneaten foods contain enough calories to feed those 35 million Americans that they are food insecure. Food waste also ends up in landfills and incinerated, and it can also generate between 8 to 10% of greenhouse emissions. Methane, for example, that it's produced when the food rots in the field, has the warming power of 80 times the CO2. So we could reduce that by, we can reduce food waste and we can help climate change. If we increase, we can also increase the efficiencies of the food system. There is less land that is arable and less water that needs to be utilized, and we can utilize that land to do more reforestation. But what is important in, sorry, let me go back. Here, you don't have this, right? What's important is that if we can reduce food waste, we can increase profit across the value chain. So imagine if we can avoid paying money for growing the food and manufacturing the food, distributing, storing that food. All that food is going to be wasted. We're going to be improving the bottom line. So where does food generate across the value chain? Most of the food that is wasted is at the consumer level. About 50% of the food is wasted there. The farther we are across this value chain, the more impact that it has on the food chain because their effects are cumulative. So we aim to reduce food waste by improving the storage stability and shelf life of baked products. A longer shelf life not only can reduce food waste, but it can also lower the economic and environmental impact of distribution and logistics. So when we look into the bakery space, right, for all the different categories, about 30% that the grains and the baked products that they are produced are lost at the consumer and retail level. This is about $10 billion annually that it's lost in wasted food. Additionally, if we think about volume, bread and baked product by volume are the largest category of processed waste food. So we have a problem, and we need to solve for this problem. So we're going to address it by extending the shelf life. Okay, there are two key attributes to extending the shelf life. We want to make sure that the product has quality and it's safe to eat. In other words, we want to maintain freshness and control microbial growth. Freshness. When we're talking about bread and cakes, right? What happens as we store this product over a long period of time? They become dry, they become stiff, hard, and they become more crumbly. This is the result of moisture migrating from the crumb to the crust, as well as staling and start retrogradation. There are also some chemical changes occurring in these products that they are going to affect the flavor and the aroma. Okay, how about controlling microbial growth? When we bake, the surface of these products as they come out of the oven are sterile. So where do they get contaminated? As we're cooling the products and go to the packaging. So, for example, spoilage microorganisms can deposit on the surface, and eventually we're going to see those, for me as a microbiology, beautiful green colonies that not everybody likes. Also, with the starch, some spore-forming bacteria can survive the oven, and eventually, given the right moisture conditions, they can germinate and produce rubbiness. Rubbiness, there is a change in color, there is discoloration, there is stickiness, and there is also some of flavors. So which are some of the factors that we can use to control mold growth? Well, we can control water activity. What is water activity? Is that water that it's available for microbial growth. So it's not the total water in the system, because some of the water is going to be bound to other molecules. But it's that free water that the microorganisms can grab and say, hey, I can grow here. Another factor that we can utilize to control microbial growth is the pH. We can make sure that they are out of that space where they enjoy growing, either lower the pH, increasing the pH, or we can lower the temperature. As we lower the temperature, they don't reproduce as fast. So that's another way of controlling microbial growth. So we have leveraged after our expertise to create a competitive advantage for our customers so they can double the shelf life of their baked products, allowing Lee to significantly extend the shelf life. What is our technology? It's patent-pending technology that it comprises leavening acids, enzymes, and antioxidants. As with this combination, with this formulation, we're going to be able, I'm going to show you how we can maintain freshness and limit microbial growth. So I'm going to share with you 3 different case studies. And these studies were done hand in hand with commercial bakeries. One of them is about cupcakes that currently they have a shelf life of about 9 days. Another one is a pound cake, mini pound cakes that have a shelf life of about 45 days. The last example is about powder-coated mini donuts that they have a shelf life of about 21 days. Each of these products is packaged differently, either in clamshell, individually wrapped, or in a seal bag. And why I'm showing you packaging, because packaging, as you know, is another way of preserving the products. But what I want to show you is, independently of the packaging, Levair ESL can help you double the shelf life of these products. Okay, this is our cupcake studies. Here we have, these cupcakes are being baked and then they're frozen. And they're transported there to big box chains and sold there. So the shelf life, those 9 days, is after defrost. I say that a picture can tell you 1,000 words. Can it? So here, when you look into the sample containing our Levair ESL, you can see that after 20 days, it maintains volume. Also, it retains volume. Also, if you look into the control, not only it reduces volume, but you can start seeing those crumbles forming on the top, right? So I'm going to show you the benefits of Levair ESL in the next few slides, how they help you retain volume, maintain moisture, have a softer texture. Also very important, I'm going to show you how we can limit microbial growth with only half of the preservative package that this cupcake had, and we can also reduce the pH. So let's look at some physical data, right? The first graph is going to tell us about moisture content. These are cakes. They're intermediate moisture foods. So the moisture content is about 21%. Remember I told you these cupcakes have about 9 days shelf life. So what happened with the moisture? Look into the gray line. Up to until 9 days, these cupcakes are keeping their moisture pretty constant. But by day 20, we have a significant decrease in moisture. But look into the blue line. Those are the cupcakes that have Levair ESL in them. We're keeping the moisture pretty constant for up to 20 days. So we are saying that, we can maintain 55% longer moisture retention in these cupcakes. What about volume? Well, you've seen that picture, but I'm going to show you the data. When we measure the volume after 20 days, the cupcakes that contain the Levair ESL, the blue bar, was about 11% higher in volume. It means that it retained much better the original volume than the control cupcakes. How about texture, right? We don't want it to be very stiff. Look into what we did when we measure hardness. the cupcakes containing Levair ESL are about 42% softer after 20 days than the cupcakes, the control cupcakes. All right, I'm showing you how we maintain freshness. Now we need to talk about microbial growth, right? How is this technology limiting your microbial growth? So as a microbiology, I love challenge tests. Challenge tests are a way of really stressing out the system. We went and we picked up cupcakes from the manufacturing site that had mold growth on them, and we isolated it. Why? Because the chances of these molds that they were growing in this product to grow again, it's going to be enhanced, but you're going to have more growing in the product. So we added all these mold that we collected into the cupcakes, and we incubated them for about 14 days. And then we said, okay, let's see how much growth there is in there. Look at the 3 gray bars. Those are the controls. The first one, the bar, is showing you what happens in the absence of any preservatives. This mold likes growing there, right? You see the mold growth. What happened when we added half of the preservative? Nothing. It looks the same mold growth as in the control. It's not effective. Okay, then we added the preservatives at the level that it's recommended. We got about 16, 17% mold inhibition, which means that, okay, the preservative is doing some work. But look at the blue bar. What happened when we added half of the preservatives in the presence of Levair ESL? Oops, one more. Sorry, the other way. Here we go. 60% less microbial growth. So that is, for me as a microbiology, pretty exciting, right? So then I went and we present all these data to a colleague of ours in a bakery. And he went and he told me, Karen, your data is very impressive. But actually what I really care is, are the customers going to be able to perceive this difference over time? I mean, customers know better, right? So all your data is impressive, but I want to know what happened with the customers. So what we did is we have an internal sensory panel, and we did a descriptive analysis profile of these cupcakes, which we evaluated them over time. And we also were working with an external panel because we want to make sure that we validated all of our results. So let's see what these panelists told us over time as they were testing these cupcakes. After 5 days, they start picking a decrease in volume in the control samples. After 8 days, they said, they start feeling a little bit dry, right? And remember, these cupcakes have about 9 days of shelf life, which makes sense. Then we keep tasting these samples until day 15, when they say, now I'm picking cardboard taste. And when panelists describe cardboard taste, they're telling us there's a little bit of rancidity until there's an off taste, we don't like it. All right, the panelists also evaluated the cupcakes containing Levair ESL. What happened? Nothing. Over the same amount period of times, they retain appearance, they didn't decrease in volume, they remained moist, and they didn't change in flavor. Well, for me, that's impressive too. So, let's see. Now I want to share with you another case scenario, because when we went to the baker and we showed him all of these results, he said like, oh, Karen, let's keep working. I have more products to work on to extend the shelf life. That impressed him a little bit. So here we have mini pound cakes. And I told you the current shelf life is about 45 days, and they are individually wrapped. So it's a little bit of a different system. What happened after 90 days? Again, pictures tell a whole story. You can see that the mini pound cakes that contain Levair ESL retain volume, whether the samples, the control samples, start shrinking. Also, as these samples were coming out of the oven, we observed that the samples that contain the Levair ESL had more even color and more even bake. We also detected no mold growth in the presence of 50% less preservatives. So what happened when we measure freshness of these cupcakes? They still, after 90 days, they were 7% higher in volume, and they were about 10% softer in texture. Again, we're validating how our Levair ESL technology can maintain freshness. There is no microbial growth, and when we ran also a sensory panel, they were able to perceive the differences in freshness between the two products. I'm going to show you one more case, one more. But whenever I present cases with a lot of mold growth, some of the people don't like looking at it. So when I click, you're going to see one of the products have a lot of mold growth. So if you're a little bit sensitive, just cover your eyes for just a second. So 21 days is the shelf life. This is after 45 days. What happened with these donuts? Look at it. They were totally covered in mold. These were also power coated with sugar, and you can see that that coating comes out as the mold is growing. But when you look into the mini donuts that contain Levair ESL, after 45 days, there was no mold growth, and that sugar addition was still there. The sugar coating was still there. All right, we said, okay, are you measuring texture too? So when we measure texture, you can see what happens with the control. It started increasing. It started getting harder and harder, right? And after day 21, we stopped measuring because all the donuts had mold growth, so we stopped. But we keep measuring the hardness or the softness, right, on the mini donuts that they contain our technology. As you can see, it pretty much remained flat, right? So we are remaining the original softness of these donuts. And if you compare the 821, that it's the one that we have some data points for the controls, it was about 32% softer in texture. All right, so in summary, we presented 3 different cases of commercially available products that we ran together at different bakeries, and I show you that we were able to double the shelf life of each of them, and they were all packaged differently. So you're telling me extending the shelf life, but we started with food waste. So how does extending the shelf life can help us reducing food waste? So let's look into the different places through the manufacturing chain. Let's think about manufacturing. We have a product now that has a longer shelf life. So it can help us with operational efficiencies. I can have longer runs with less changeover, line changeovers, parameters changeovers. So that helps us decrease the scrap and the waste that it's generated as we are baking products. Also, if you think about it, if we can increase the shelf life, think about, if we can utilize a warehouse. So instead of delivering, 50, a few, products into a convenience store or into a supermarket, hey, we could deliver half a truck of product into their warehouses. Pretty efficient, right? We can also help expand the distribution outreach of this bakery, because usually bakeries are restricted as to how far they can sell their product. So at the end, we are not only extending the shelf life and reducing waste, we're helping these manufacturing, these bakeries, with the bottom line, making them, make more money. And there is a very good example, out there, if you ever heard about Hostess and, the Twinkies. That's a way that they came back from bankruptcy to being, a new product in the market because of extending the shelf life of their Twinkies. I think it was from 21 days to 64. So what happened at retail? How are we going to be reducing waste if we extend the shelf life? So the products can stay longer in this shelf, which allows the customer to come back and keep buying, right? There is less frequency of restocking, and there is less shrink. And the way that I'm going to define shrinking here is about the product that it's beyond their best buy day and it gets, thrown away or wasted. How about the consumer, right? How many of you thought that you were going to eat that whole loaf of bread, and then eventually you start seeing it's becoming green, and like, oh my goodness, I need to throw this away? right? So if we can increase the shelf life of our product as a consumer, I have to do less trips to the grocery. I'm going to generate less waste. But also, I'm going to be a happier customer. So I'm going to keep going and buying their product because I like it, right? All right, all of these we were able to achieve using our Innofold solution of Lever ESL. So in summary, we show you how Lever ESL helps you reduce food waste, it helps you extend the shelf life, and it can give a competitive advantage to our customers. So we're not only reducing food waste in the environment, but we're also improving the bottom line at the bakeries, creating more efficiencies, and as I mentioned, improving bottom line. So I hope you enjoy the presentation. We talked today a lot about Lever ESL for extending the shelf life of sweet baked products. Please, we have a whole portfolio of baking solutions. So if you stop at our booth, all of my team is going to be able to tell you about Lever Select, that is if you're looking for a salt replacement, or if you're trying to fortify some of the baked foods, we have Lever Fortify. Or if you're working in an environment where the temperature changes and I want to increase the time before I bake the product, you can utilize Lever Stabilize to help you with the batter stability. And if you still want to keep buying the Lever Salt, the classic salt, you can come and we'll talk to you about all these products. So I think in your chairs, you have a little card. And if you bring it to our booth, we're in booth 2810, you can bring it and you can get a free, delicious crumb cake containing our ESL technology. So anyways, I do appreciate your time. And I don't know if we have some time for questions, I think.
I think we've got just a few minutes for some questions from Karen. If you have a question, please raise your hand. My colleague Mary Ellen has a microphone that she'll bring over to you. I tell you what, while we're waiting for a question, I actually have one for you.
Okay.
So when you're working with these products and collaborating with bakeries, how much do they need to adapt the formulations or the recipes of their products in order to accommodate this?
They don't need to adapt. It's going to be the same mixing time, the same baking time. We just need to make sure that they incorporate our technology.
Okay, great. And we have a question in the back. Hang on.
Okay.
Please stand up if you would.
In the example where you showed that you use 50% of the preservatives plus the Lever ESL, what preservatives were you replacing? Calpro or NMIs, or does it work with both?
There were the classic preservatives in these products, sodium benzoate and propionates. Yeah, propionate. Yeah, sodium propionate.
Any
They're
other
classic
audience? We have
preservatives.
another audience question up here. Hang on.
Hi. So as a fellow microbiologist, I was wondering, because you see an effect on shelf life, so do you think that's based on pH or water activity? What's the mechanism behind that?
Yeah. Well, it's not a single ingredient. So this is very different how other technologies that we're familiar with work, right? Some of them addresses, their enzyme, they address texture. Some of them are new preservatives. But what we have in here is hard oil technology, right? We are modifying different things in that product that help you limit the microbial growth. So it has to do with pH, it has to do with moisture, it has to do with, water activity, and, different hurdles that we're including into the product. Mm-hmm.
I have another follow-up question for you.
Yes.
You were going through and describing the ways in which extending the shelf life can impact food waste. Are there any tests or collaborations underway to actually quantify that?
Yeah, we're working very close with different bakeries trying to do a life cycle analysis to be able to quantify the impact of these. Remember, it's company-specific, product-specific, so the best way to approach is working hand-in-hand with the different bakeries.
Wonderful. Can we have another hand of applause for Karen and her great presentation? Thank you so much.
Thank you for your attention. Okay.
It was a great presentation, and I hope that this piqued your interest. We do have more in store for you. Shelf life is the first topic that's going to be covered in IFT's new 10-module product development boot camp educational series, which we're going to be previewing exclusively for attendees here at First. So you can be sure to check out the demo over at the Member Central directly next door today at 3:30. And while you're there, you can ask about the concierge service and how it can help your team innovate and react faster. As Karen pointed out, you can learn more about this innovative new product at Innofos's booth, which is S2810. And we hope that you'll come back to this stage at 12:30 today for another presentation, Making the Case, Sustainable Drying Solutions That Don't Sacrifice Quality, which is presented by BIPEX. Thank you for joining us all at IFT First, and we hope you have a great show.